What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today I want to talk about Nisqy and why, when he's retired, and I want to say this generation of mid laners is retired, I think he's going to be the most underrated player of all time. And I feel like it's crazy how people view Nisqy. Like the fact that he isn't on a team for this coming LEC split is crazy to me. And I know that people are trying to pick up a lot of new talents and a lot of new, they're trying to find the next caps, the next perks. But you've got a guy like Nisqy who has um, been one of the best mid laners, of all time in this generation. And you see this and he's constantly not given credit for it. Obviously, he doesn't have a ton of championships, but the consistent great performances from him is like no other. You've got the crazy thing about him is that he's never really had bad years. Like even like and he's consistently played with worse teams than his contemporaries that he's constantly compared to. You think about he's always put in this conversation as he's like the fourth best mid laner, or he's like it's we've got all these great mid laners and we've got to put Nisqy in there because he keeps winning, but we don't actually think he's as good as these guys, even though he's playing on teams like SK. He's playing on teams, like when he was competing to win LEC when he was early on in his career, he's playing on that the splice rosters and things that they had good players, right? But they didn't have the same caliber players as the G2s and the Fanatics did, and he was still competing with them. And it's pretty incredible what he's been able to do. And somehow no matter what he does, it seems like he's not given the kind of respect I think he deserves. And I think part of it comes from the fact that he gets labeled as like this, do and be disciple, which, do and be a lot of people thought Doomby was the best mid laner in the LPL at times. And, I would argue he was the best mid laner in the world when he won Worlds. And similarly, but it's like this style that's like supportive, that's like not, he's not the carry the way guys like Humanoid Caps, Perks, Larson, all these guys who people always said were better than him are. Even in NA, he got that label too, to the point where he won two different junglers MVPs, right? And look, I can make a whole separate video on those MVPs, but Sven Skaren, as great a jungler as he was not miles better than every other jungler in the league. Blabber, the only reason he looked so much better is one, because he was playing with Nisqy, and two, because he was playing on the best team in an era when it's just the weakest era of the LCS in general. And Nisqy wins both these guys MVPs. And similarly, you see that when Nisqy is on the stacked teams, the teams are really good, right? Like those Cloud9 teams were really good, and that's where he won his rings, obviously. And it's 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 wild because similarly, he went to Fnatic. The team was really good. He finally had good teammates. He gets second. It's obviously Fnatic gets second all the time, but it's like he's constantly performing. He's constantly performing. He never really has a down year. He can play so many different styles. You get obviously some memes about some of his different picks, but he's even though he gets labeled as like this, um, I guess like Galio player or whatever. These kind of supportive champions. Like he's had so many different great games on different control mages, Victor, Oriana, Syndra, these types of picks, and yet he's not given credit for that either. Um, it's really strange. Like I'll put the argument right now that he's better than Larson all time. Like legitimately Larson hasn't done anything, and Larson's had some really bad years now. I think he's going to have a better year coming up, because obviously he's had that connection with Morang. And to be fair, it'd be hard to have a worse year than what he's been having. But it's for years people said Larson was better than him. For years people were saying Humanoid and all you guys are better than him. And Humanoid, he probably is, although Nisqy does other things better than Humanoid. And there's a reason that Humanoid is so up and down and Nisqy is much more consistent. I think that speaks to the mentality of the two players. And that one of the reasons Nisqy is so good is because he's got such a great um, ability to not get phased by things happening in the game and things happening outside the game, and that's a massive quality in a winner. And at the end of the day, you compete in these games to win, and so it's crazy that um, he doesn't get the respect despite the fact that he's constantly winning. And even though he's had obviously some lows of losing, for example, in the group stage at Worlds and these things, he's losing to great players. Number one, and number two, he is dragging bad. Not I don't necessarily say bad players, but he's dragging subpar players to um, places they would never be able to get to without him. And he's constantly improving the players around him. And weirdly, league in league, being a floor raiser is not valued, which I think is stupid because it's one of the best qualities you can have when building a team. If you're a GM, you want a floor raiser. You want somebody that's going to make all your guys look good because number one, that allows you to trade them for better packages, for more money and these different things, or it obviously just allows you to improve. And people love an underdog story. They love seeing players that they didn't expect to be good play well, and he's been responsible for some great jungle performances and development of um, some of the best junglers we've ever seen in the West, and he doesn't really get credit for that either. So it's a really strange phenomenon that he's not respected, and the fact that he's not on the team is just crazy. I think we're going to see when we start the LEC and LCS, there is or LTA that there is a lot of people that don't belong. I think, um, obviously less so than last year in terms of the LEC, but I think there's going to be a lot of, people that we realize they're there because they were cheaper. They're there because they want to see if they could be good. And I mean, this again could be another video. But I think it's a bad strategy that these teams they don't have any clear plan for how they're going to develop these players or how they're going to turn like these more raw prospects into stars like caps or perks. They're just kind of hoping that they're that player already, and it's really hard to get that. And you even see like those people, the teams like G2 and Fnatic that got lucky in a way. Caps just talked about how much he was learning in his first year in Fnatic, how much he learned from those players, and playing with some of the best of all time. And similarly, Perks always talks about how much he learned from Trick, for example, and that's really like you need to either have the systems in place to teach these players, or you either need to have a plan. You know what I mean? Or you get lucky. But it's crazy to me that they're just on the side of getting lucky. And we'll see. But and maybe he gets picked up in the middle of the season again, which kind of a shitty situation to be in because it shows that he's not valued the way he should be. But you know, he's one of the great Western mid laners of this generation, and he's not for some reason respected in that way. And I think it's criminal, to be honest, because he's made so many he's made magic happen for so many different teams and so many different players, and that's just to get replaced over and over, just to get, oh well, there's a cap maybe. And I think they're actually teams are going about it the wrong way. Instead of saying, oh, there's a cap to where we can go with Nisqy, because we've seen Nisqy compete against the best mid laners in the world, and honestly, he's done pretty well. He's had worlds where he's performing pretty well. He's had some where he's not performed that well as well, but you can say that about pretty much every mid laner in the West, from Bjergsen to whoever. You know what I mean? And yet, instead of these teams thinking, oh, we've got to find somebody better than Nisqy because we don't have a mid laner that can compete. I think what they should be thinking is, hey, how do we get that? How do we get the next Inspired? How do we get the next great jungler or great AD carry that um, can go along with our world-class mid laner that we already have, and he can be the secondary carry because he's not gonna you don't want to put him on to carry every single game, but he for sure can be the carry, and he's done that many times. So if you have that secondary, so you make him that secondary guy, and he's propping there, he's floor raising for you, and you've got a guy who can be a star with your other superstar, can make a phenomenal team. But yeah, for some reason, it's not happening. And we'll see. Maybe he gets picked up again. I hope he does because it would be you know pretty sad. This was the last we saw of Nisqy. But yeah, again, he's I think all said and done, he's going to be the most underrated mid laner of all time. But hopefully, people will, if he gets back in the league, people will see what he can do, and it'll change their opinion. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.